Hey everyone, this is DJ Mog. It's been a little bit since I've posted an interview up here on my channel, but I had the opportunity to catch up with Wanz, who our interview this year really took off, and a lot of people were just really informed about his story and just really inspired by it. And so recently he came into town and I got to go down to the concert and just catch up with him a little bit and hear what's happened since Thrift Shop took off.
It's been a bit since we've talked.
Yes.
And a lot has happened.
Yes. It's nice to meet in the flesh. You were my very first interview.
Well, I'm honored that you remember that.
Oh man, are you kidding?
So, man, so much has happened. It's been almost a year.
Yeah.
That's what's happened since then. When we left it last, I think like all the great, you had just left your job. I think in October, and
both of us were wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I can't, you'd have to go back to the old interview and it would be really interesting to see what my answers were to questions then as opposed to what my answers are now. What has happened is Thrift Shop became one of the biggest songs of 2013 all around the world. At last check, about a week ago, over 470 million YouTube views, been in #1 in more than 7 countries. I've traveled to Europe twice, Australia, New Zealand, gonna go back to Australia, New Zealand. And I've started, making a career for myself and just released my first ever single, appeared on Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon, baby! Appeared on Jimmy Fallon, sitting and singing with the Roots, and right now he's sitting. He's pushing out my Christmas single, and it goes on sale December 3rd on iTunes.
That's amazing. How do you stay true to Wanz with all the success that you just have?
It's been really easy because over the course of the year, what everybody in the entourage has figured out is I'm really, really good with people. And when I look at them, it reminds me where I came from. I mean, I don't really have to change anything. Yeah, I don't have the pressure on me to be anything more than I am. So I don't, unlike Macklemore, who has all this hype to live up to because he's got a full album, I just have one song. And it just happens to be the song, but that's not my, I didn't plan that. So it's been really easy, and how they made me like a fan liaison, and I go out before concerts and pass out meet and greet passes to the first 20 people, and after that I kind of hold court while Ben and Ryan are kind of decompressing after the show. I sit in a room and I talk to like 25, 30, 40 people and, tell my story, talk about, what I do, maybe sing a couple of songs, and it's my opportunity to like really connect with people, and that keeps me grounded.
Do you have, with all those travels that you've done, like a favorite moment so far in this journey?
There's a few. 4th of July in Bayonne, France, and being, that was weird. It was weird and magical at the same time because you're in France, performing in a Spanish bull ring, and it's the 4th of July. That was kind of, the juxtaposition of many cultures all at the same time. And the kids were really, really cool, knew all the words, and were really passionate. It was magical. Dublin, 2 nights in Dublin, Ireland, unforgettable, because Ben's from there. So, to do Irish Celebration that first night in Ireland, it was, it almost made my heart explode. But, from Finland to Sweden to England, Germany, it's all been, all of it has been dream come true stuff.
You got your Late Night with Jimmy Fallon shirt on. What was that experience like, sitting with the Roots?
Well, for me, it was a little bittersweet. I mean, the opportunity in and of itself is just mind-boggling, That was just like a chance thing after we had performed on Jimmy Fallon, to talk to him after the show and kind of meet up with him. Well, some months later, my manager and I are meeting with a guy at a restaurant that none of us had ever been to before, and we go in, and Jimmy Fallon is sitting in the back of the restaurant. Who knew? But I had to give him a little bit of shit because he's done skits with Thrift Shop a couple of times. It's like, you're hurting a brother right here. You're not even calling me, dog. And so I kind of pressed him on that. And I said, you should have me on with the Roots. He goes, here, talk to my producer. We'll set it up. And boom, all of a sudden, during our 3 nights of sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden, I got to be on the show and sing with the Roots. I did some interviews that morning, and then I didn't choose, but it just kind of happened. I got hit with laryngitis. I started to get sick. And so by the time I'd gotten done with the rehearsals, I couldn't talk, couldn't sing. So they you know, the experts at NBC made me sound and made me look really good. So it all worked out. But I was just really disappointed because I couldn't be all of me. I was only part of me. So after the show, Jimmy comes over and he shakes my hand, and I said, you know, I'm really sorry I lost my voice. I don't think I did that well. He says, well, then I guess you'll have to come back. And I'm like, yes.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
you released your Christmas track.
Yep.
On Jimmy's blog.
Yep.
How did his promotion, how's that going?
Well, at last count, it's got a little over 2,000, a little over 2,000 views, and that's in about a week and a half, which isn't bad. It goes on sale December 3rd, and you know, there's forces at work to get a little more publicity and a little more oomph behind it, and there are a few radio stations in New York that are going to pick it up. I'm going to be talking with some people in LA, and I already know that there are people in Seattle that are going to pick it up. So we're just going to like pick the edges of the world and just converge on the center, and you know. But it's nice. It's nice because everybody knows the song, and nobody really redoes this particular song. So it's kind of a fresh take on an old favorite, and I put a little bit of me in it. So it's kind of tongue-in-cheek and kind of funny too.
Yeah, I was listening to it. Where'd you get the beat from?
So my manager Kim connected me with a guy who plays keyboards for Sean Paul. His name is Dan. Dan the band. Dan Polakar is his name, and he produced the track. And he was sending me the beat, and I was recording to it in the tour bus while we were in Europe. So the irony is that, you know, this was just an idea. I sent my manager just a little beat that you know, because I sing it every year for friends and family.
Right.
And it kind of grew into something. He put the beat together, I put some tracks on it, and now it's going to be released to the masses, so that's kind of cool.
So what's next? What's next for Wanz after that?
So after that, there's already another song called, I don't know if I can say the name of it, but I have another song that I've worked on that I could be looking at a major release right after the first of the year. I will know more probably middle of this coming week, and you know, we'll start figuring out how we're going to press it and all that other stuff. But really good things have happened. I just have tried to make the most of the opportunity that has been presented to me, because when you're me and you dream about this stuff all your life, you know what I mean?
Right. All right. We talked about getting that one shot to bite an apple. It looks like you took a pretty big bite. Pretty big bite.
I think we might have to move.
So that interview actually took place before the show, and what you're about to see is just some time we got to hang out after the show, talk about it, and he actually has an inspiring word for young musicians trying to make it in the music business.
So the beat drops on Thrift Shop, and I do the same thing every time. I get myself centered. I gather my strength. I thank God for the blessings, and I dedicate it to my brother and my father. And then I walk on stage. And, you know, it's been really interesting because Ben doesn't always go to the same place. So the presentation of me going on stage changes. You know, he's in a place where I usually go and present myself. And that's more dramatic than me just walking out on stage to a spot, you know. But either way, I see when the faces see me, and that it makes it really hard for me to contain myself because I get excited just like they get excited. And then, you know, it's like, how am I going to present myself? Then I start thinking about the performance and what I'm supposed to be doing. There are a few things that I, you know, coordinated with the dancers and places that I go so that I can cover as much ground, because I don't want to stand in one spot. That I've never been that kind of a performer. So You know, it's like, how do I get as far left as I can go? And it's already scoped out that I'm gonna go as far right as I can go. So what do I do in the middle? And this is all the stuff that's running through my head, because singing the song is actually like tying your shoes. You know, I know what I'm gonna sing. It's just, you know, trying to make it more entertaining, complementary to what he's doing, complementary to the dancers, and in conjunction with the dancers. It's complicated because some stages aren't, sometimes we can't set up the stage the full dimensions, right? Some venues are smaller than others. And then, you know, like today we had no dancers. So it's like, wow, I haven't done a show with no dancers in a long time. So I really don't know, I have to be more animated. I just can't stand there. That's not what I do. But I can't get too into it and detract from what Ben's doing. Right. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's the show within the show, and then the show within the show within the show. There's a lot of stuff going on, and the goal is to make it seem transparent so that people are just watching the show and taking it all in. Because, I mean, I only get 5 minutes. That's it. From the time that the beat drops to the time he introduces me and I walk off stage, 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, there are so many things that could go wrong. There are so many things that go right, and there are so many things to do. So, you know, it's different every night because the vibe of the crowd is different. The acoustics in the hall are different, and even though I have in-ears, you can still feel it, so it feels different. The stage feels different, you know. So every gig is different and unique because the people are different in every gig. So, you know, I never get it when people say, yeah, it's the same show every night. No, not really. Not if you're paying attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise one time for the king of the Thrift Shop, my uncle, Wanz!
You, like, really just living the American dream
yeah.
right now. What would you say to, you know, aspiring musicians, young musicians, or musicians that's been struggling? They kind of see you in the glitz and glam, but maybe not know all that you've gone through to get where you are.
Well, life happens to everybody all at the same time. Which, when you think about it and are just sitting on like a bench or at a bus stop or in your car and you look around, life is happening to everybody that you see. They're just going through different things in life. They may be going through the same thing you're going through. They may have went through it yesterday. Maybe tomorrow, you don't know. But I think it's fascinating that as a musician, as a songwriter, you know, the gift is being able to tell someone else's story or your own. As a musician, if you want to be good at something, it's just like any athlete. It's just like anybody in school who wants to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant. It doesn't matter. You have to work, and you have to practice, and you have to study. All those things apply. And when you get good, someone else will notice, right? Be good enough for yourself and be happy with yourself. That's all you really have to do. Everything else comes from outside. But, you know, what I've learned in the last 5 years, because it's basically been a 5-year journey for me. From the time that I thought that it's never going to happen for me, the acceptance process for that, minding my own business process, and then all of a sudden I answered a phone call, and then all those things that I'd spent 20, 30 years working towards happen every night, you know? But then I can't totally miss and disrespect those 25, 30 years. I met really nice people who may not get to where I am for reasons that I can't explain. You know, every artist has their own thing. You get to do that too. Everybody does. Drive your own boat. Figure out what you're good at. Stick to what you're good at. Find other people who are good at the same thing. Have the common thing, and you know, you build a consensus. That's how this all works. It's all about numbers. It's all about numbers.
10,000 hours.
10,000. Yeah, I mean, when I say that, 10,000 hours is part of it. But yeah, that's how you put those hours in and look at what you get. Nothing that you can hold, but everything that it is. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be good. You know, you could put in 10,000 hours and still be a crappy musician, crappy songwriter, crappy boat builder, crappy vacuumer, crappy dish stewer. It doesn't, you know, you could put in the work and still not get the result. But if you're paying attention, as you put in the work, something else will come along. And you'll gravitate to that something because everybody likes a positive result. Nobody likes the negative result. You keep finding ways to have positivity, all of a sudden you have something that nobody else has. You know, my voice is different and unique to me. And it just happened to be put in a place where it was appealing to a lot of people. I had no control over that. And so knowing the difference between what I can control and what I can't is basically how I got here. And I spent all those 25, 30 years thinking that I could control so much. Life will teach you lessons if you're paying attention.
Well, it's the Book of Wanz right there, huh?
Yes, sir. Life is 80%, it's 75% paying attention, 20% making a decision, and 5% after actually doing something. And once you do something, that whole equation inverts. So if you think of it as a cone, first it goes like this, then it goes like this, and it goes like this, with every single decision you make. What you're going to have for breakfast, what you're going to wear, left, right, up, down, yes, no. Choice. You have it. Exercise it carefully.
Perfect. Cut.
And scene.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's interview. It's just been super cool to see where Wanz has gone and just taken off since our first interview. And make sure you go and purchase his new single, The Christmas Song, on iTunes. Play it at all of your holiday parties. And I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas. And stay tuned for more interviews here on The Current.